Good morning, students. Today's class we will see about the induction of labor. Induction of labor refers to the process by which vaginal birth is achieved through the simulation of uterine contraction prior to the spontaneous onset of labor. Cervical ripening is the process of effecting the physical softening and dilatation of the cervix in preparation for labor and delivery. Benefits of induction must outweigh the risk to maternal fetal unit. Inductions may be medically indicated or elective. Augmentation of labor is the process of stimulation of uterine contraction, both in frequency and intensity, that are already present but found to be inadequate. Augmentation is administration of uterine stimulants once labor dystocia, that is dysfunction, ensues. The dysfunctional labor may occur for a number of reasons that we can see in the other section, yet it is a number of one reason for primary cesarean deliveries. Many of the same uterine stimulants utilized for inductions are also utilized for augmentation. Elective induction of labor means initiation of the labor term pregnancy without any acceptable medical or obstetric indication. It is done for convenience of the patient, obstetrician, or the hospital. Unless for a selective patient who have a history of rapid labors, the social indication should not be recommended. The major risks are iatrogenic prematurity, increased cesarean delivery for failed induction. Indications for induction include medically indicated are abruptia placenta, chorioamnionitis, fetal death or fetal demise, preeclampsia, eclampsia, gestational hypertension, PROM, postterm pregnancy, maternal medical conditions like diabetes mellitus, renal disease, chronic pulmonary disease, or chronic hypertension. Fetal conditions like severe fetal growth restrictions, anomalies, isoimmunization, category 3, fetal heart rate pattern. Elective indications include a patient or physician requires logistic reasons like risk of rapid labor or precipitate labor, distance from the hospital is very far. Psychosocial indications. In addition to the reason, other reasons for elective induction, there must also fetal lung maturity or 39 of the more weeks of gestation determined by one of the following criteria. First, fetal heart tones documented from 20 weeks onwards or by non-electronic fetoscope or for at least 30 weeks by Doppler. By 36 weeks or more since a positive serum or urine HCG pregnancy test from a reliable laboratory. An ultrasound measurements from crown to rump length obtained 6 to 12 weeks which support the gestational age of at least 39 weeks. The common indications for induction of labor are post-maturity, preeclampsia or eclampsia, intrauterine fetal death, premature rupture of the membranes, congenital malformation of the fetus, antepartum hemorrhage, and chronic hydramnios. Contraindications of induction of labor include contracted pelvis and cephalopelvic disproportion, malpresentations, previous classical cesarean section or hysterotomy, uteroplacental factors like unexplained vaginal bleeding, vasa previa, placenta previa, acute genital herpes infection, high-risk pregnancy with the fetal compromise, heart disease complicating pregnancy, pelvic tumors, elderly priming gravida with obstetric or medical complications, umbilical cord prolapse, and cervical carcinoma. Dangers of induction of labor or complication of induction of labor. The maternal complications include psychosocial upset when there is induction failure or section is done, tendency of prolonged labor due to abnormal uterine action, increased need of analgesia during labor, increased operative interference, increased morbidity. Fetal dangers include iatrogenic prematurity, hypoxia due to uterine dysfunction, prolonged labor, operative interference. Parameters to assess prior to induction of labor. When induction is considered of fetal interest, one must ensure the gestational age and maturity, that is, pulmonary maturity of the fetus. However, induction for maternal interest may compel to ignore the fetus. Maternal in the parameters include to confirm the indication of induction of labor, exclude the contraindication of induction of labor, assess Bishop score, that is score above 6 is favorable, perform a clinical pelvimetry to assess pelvic adequacy, advocate counseling about risk, benefits and alternatives of induction of labor with the woman and family members. The fetal factors include to ensure fetal gestational age, to estimate fetal weight, ensure fetal lung maturation status, ensure fetal presentation and lie, confirm the fetal well-being. Predictive factors for a successful induction of labor include period of gestation, pregnancy nearer term or post-term. Pre-induction score or Bishop score is more than 6. Dilatation of cervix is most important. Sensitivity of uterus, positive oxytocin sensitivity test is favorable for induction of labor. Cervical ripening favorable in multiparous and in case with PROM but less responsive in elderly primary gravida or cases with prolonged retention of dead fetus. Presence of fetal fibronectin, a vaginal swabs that is above 60 nanogram per ml that is favorable for successful induction of labor. Other positive factors are maternal height above 5 feet, normal BMI, and fetal weight, estimated fetal weight is less than 3 kg. It is the Bishop score or otherwise called as pre-induction score. The parameters are in the cervix dilatation, effacement, consistency and position and the head station of the head. Total score is 13. The favorable score is between 6 to 13. Cervix, if it is dilated, is close 0, 1 to 2 centimeter dilated will give a score of 1, 3 to 4, score of 2 and 5 and more than 5, 3. Effacement 0 to 30, the score is 0, 40 to 50 score is 1, 60 to 70 score is 2 and more than 83 score. Consistency, if it is firm 0, if it is medium score 1 and if it is soft score 2, that is maximum score is only 2. Position, posterior it is score 0, midline it is score 1 and anterior score 2 and there is no 3 score for consistency and position. Head station is -3 0, -2 1, -1 and 0 it is 2, +1 and +2 it is the 3 score. This means cervical length is more than 4 and 2 to 4 and 1 to 2 and more means less than 1. These are the means factors which assist in the means consist of the Bishop score. Then indication for augmentation, uterine hypocontractility after maternal pelvis and fetal presentation have been assessed. Dystocia, that is slow or abnormal progression of labor. Augmentation should be considered in the absence of cervical change if the frequency of contraction is less than 3 over 10 minutes or intensity of contraction is less than 25 mm of mercury baseline or both. Contraindication for augmentation include placenta vasa previa, umbilical cord presentation, prior classical uterine incision, active genital herpes infection, pelvic structural deformities, and invasive cervical cancer. Cervical ripening. Cervical ripening is performed if the induction labor indicated and cervix is unfavorable. Typically, the cervix is evaluated according to the Bishop score pelvis scoring system. If the score is 6 or more, probability of vaginal delivery after labor induction is similar to that of spontaneous labor. Methods of induction include medical, surgical, and combined method. The medical method, the drugs used are prostaglandin, PGE2 and PGE1, oxytocin, mifepristone. Prostaglandin. They act locally, that is autocrine and paracrine hormones on the contiguous cells. PGE2 and PGF2 alpha both cause myometrial contraction. But PGE2 is primarily important for cervical ripening, whereas PGF2 alpha for myometrial contraction. PGE2 has greater collagen-lytic properties and also sensitizes the myometrium to oxytocin. The intracervical application of dinoprostone, that is PGE 2.5 mg gel, is the gold standard for cervical ripening. It may be repeated after 6 hours for 3 to 4 doses if required. The woman should be on the bed for 30 minutes following application and should be monitored for uterine activity and fetal heart rate. Side effects are few. Prostaglandin E1, otherwise misoprostol is a tablet containing prostaglandins. Misoprostol is not an FDA approved for cervical ripening or labor induction. Various doses regimens are available. However, lower rates of uterine tachycystole occur in lower doses, that is 25 microgram every 6 hours versus every 3 hours. Redosing is withheld if more than 5 contractions occur in 10 minutes, adequate cervical ripening is achieved, and the patient is in active labor or FHS falls to category 1 or 2. Patient should be observed up to 2 hours after spontaneous rupture of membrane. The cervix remains unfavorable, uterine activity is minimal, absence of category 3 FHR pattern, and at least 3 hours since last dose, then redosing is acceptable. Oxytocin can be given after 4 hours after the last dose. Misoprostol should be administered or near the labor and delivery birthing suit to allow continuous monitoring of fetal and uterine status. Uterine tachycystole is a complication, particularly a higher dose or shorter intervals between the dosing. Adverse effects of misoprostol include shivering, backache, vomiting, diarrhea, shortness of breath, uterine hypertonus, or uterine rupture. Misoprostol is not recommended for women with history of prior cesarean delivery or with uterine scarring. Prostaglandin E2. Prostaglandin E2 is primarily used before the induction of labor for cervical ripening, administered intracervically or vaginally. If labor results from administration of PGE2, it is similar to spontaneous labor. Third is uterine tachycystole is a complication. PGE2 gel, that is Pipidil, is given via catheter or diaphragm in a doses ranging from 0.5 to 5 mg. Unstable at room temperature, store in a refrigerator, bring to a room temperature just before administration. Do not use microwave or warm water or any other heating method to speed the warming process, as this gel is sensitive to heat may be inactivated. Patient should stay recommended for at least 30 minutes. If no response, additional dose may be administered every 6 hours. Oxytocin should be delayed for 6 to 12 hours after the last dose of gel. Should be administered at or near labor, delivery, or birthing suit to monitor the fetal and maternal condition. Cervidil is a solid time release suppository placed in the vagina. Suppositories having 10 ml that releases 0.3 mg per hour. Require continuous fetal monitoring as evidenced by manufacturer and the research guidelines. Keep frozen until immediately before use. Unstable at room temperature. Stable up to 3 years if it is frozen. Patient is to stay supine for 2 hours or after the insertion, may ambulate after 2 hours. Removal after 12 hours or on the onset of labor, oxytocin may be delayed at least 30 to 60 minutes after the removal. Should be administered at or near the term the labor suit. Second, the drug is used as oxytocin infusion. Oxytocin is an octapeptide is one of the most common drug used for the induction of labor. Patient sensitivity varies, and based on pharmacokinetic studies, uterine response begins within 3 to 5 minutes of infusion and reaches steady state within 40 minutes. Cervical dilatation, parity, gestational age predict the dose of response of oxytocin. Oxytocin is only given via infusion pump accompanied by a constant monitoring of maternal and fetal status. Dosing requirements adequate for a labor vary as low and high dose options. Typically, a starting dose may vary from 0.5 to 2 milliunits and increase 1 to 2 milliunits every 15 to 40 minutes. The goal is to establish a regular labor pattern that will produce cervical dilatation of 1 centimeter per hour in an active phase of labor, contractions occurring every 2 to 3 minutes lasting for 45 to 60 seconds and with the intensity of 50 mg of Hg. Be aware, however, that cervical dilatation, effacement, and fetal descent are the true indication of adequate labor. The complication of oxytocin administration include uterine tachycystole, that is more than 5 contractions in 10 minutes, uterine hypertonus, that is uterine resting tone is greater than 20 to 25 mm of mercury depending on the type of intrauterine pressure and catheter, contractions longer than 90 seconds in duration, increased incidence of cesarean delivery, hypertension with rapid infusion, and uterine tachycystole accompanied by fetal bradycardia may be treated with tocolytics prior to emergent deliveries if indicated. Administration of oxytocin requires close monitoring of intake output, especially IV fluid monitoring. The major adverse effect of oxytocin is water toxicity, which can lead to heart failure. Symptoms of water toxicity include headache, nausea, vomiting, mental confusion, decreased urine output, hypertension, tachycardia, and cardiac arrhythmia. Mifepristone or progesterone receptor antagonist block both the progesterone and glucocorticoid receptors. RU486 200 mg vaginally daily for 2 days has been found to ripen the cervix and to induce labor. Ondansetron, that is ZK98299, is the more selective progesterone receptor antagonist. Here is the comparison between oxytocin and prostaglandins, especially PGE2 and PGE1. In case of cost, stability, administration, effectiveness, side effects, systemic side effects, and antidiuretic effect. Surgical induction of method. Surgical induction is two types. One is artificial rupture of membrane and stripping of membrane. Amniotomy or artificial rupture of membranes ARM. Performed by a cervical exam. Insert an amni hook in the cervix and perform a straight boosting motion to catch a small area of membrane. Fluid should be clear or cloudy without any smell or odor. Mechanism of onset of labor may be related with the stretching of the cervix, separation of the membrane, that is liberation of prostaglandins, and reduction of amniotic fluid volume. Effectiveness depends upon the state of cervix, station of the presenting part. Induction delivery interval is shorter when amniotomy is combined with oxytocin than either method is used singly. Advantage of amniotomy: high success rate. Chance to observe the amniotic fluid for blood or meconium, access to use fetal scalp electrode or intrauterine pressure catheter for fetal scalp blood sampling. Limitations include it cannot be employed in an unfavorable cervix, long firm cervix with the os closed. The cervix should be at least one finger dilated. Indications include the contraindications are intrauterine fetal death, maternal HIV, genital active herpes infection. Immediate benefit of ARM: lowering the blood pressure in preeclampsia or eclampsia, relief of maternal distress in hydramnios, control bleeding in antepartum hemorrhage, relief of tension in abruptia plus an initiation of labor. These benefits are to be weighed against the risk involved in the indications for which the method is adopted. The hazards of ARM include: once the procedure is adopted, there is no scope of retreating from the decisions of delivery. Chance of umbilical cord prolapse: the risk is low when the engaged head or rupture of membrane with the head fixed to the brain. Amnionitis: careful selection of cases with favorable pre-induction score will shorten the induction delivery interval. Meticulous asepsis during the procedure reduces the risk. Accidental injury to the placenta, cervix or uterus, fetal parts, or vasa previa. Care taken during the rupture of membranes minimize the problem. Liquoramni embolism, that is a rare complication of rupture of membrane. Striping the membrane. Striping or sweeping of the membranes means the digital separation of chorioamniotic membrane from the wall of cervix and lower the uterine segment. It is thought to work by the release of endogenous prostaglandins from the membranes and decidua. Manual exploration of the cervix triggers the Ferguson reflex, which promote oxytocin release from maternal pituitary. Sweeping of the membranes is done prior to ARM. It is simple, safe, and beneficial for induction of labor. As an isolated procedure, stripping the membrane of its attachment from the lower segment is an effective procedure for induction provided cervical score is favorable. It is used as a preliminary step prior to the rupture of membrane. It is also used to make the cervix stripe. Criteria to be fulfilled for the membrane stripping are: take fetal head must be well applying to the cervix. The cervix should be dilated so as to allow the introduction of examiner's finger. Mechanically dilators, that is, act by the release of endogenous prostaglandins from the membranes and maternal decidua to induce labor and cervical ripening. Hygroscopic dilator, that is laminaria tench, that is a seaweed. Lamisil, that is magnesium sulfate in polyvinyl alcohol, act by absorption of water. They swell and forcibly dilate the cervix. Mechanical dilators are safe and effective as PGE2 in cervical ripening. Transcervical balloon, that is Foley's catheter, and extra amniotic saline infusion is effective for cervical ripening. This is the scheme of induction protocol, that is the medical, surgical, and combined. Medical is the prostaglandin E2 or E1 or oxytocin. In the cervix is favorable and oxytocin or prostaglandin E1 or E2, and cervix is unfavorable, prostaglandins are more effective. The surgical is amniotomy, that is lower rupture of membrane in case of antepartum hemorrhage, preeclampsia, and eclampsia. Combined, that means we use both medical and surgical. In cervix is unfavorable, vaginal prostaglandin E2 gel or E1 or oxytocin along with cervical ripening and amniotomy with oxytocin. If cervical and if it is favorable, we can go for an amniotomy plus oxytocin. So this is a scheme of induction protocol. Thank you for listening.